You were carefully applying the last layer of lipstick, the soft click of the tube echoing in the quiet room. The mirror in front of you reflected the woman you had become, dressed in a stunning and bold dress that made a statement. It wasn't too much, but it wasn't your usual corporate attire. Tonight was different. You couldn't help but remember yesterday Jungkook's words that lingered in your mind like an unspoken challenge. You always dress professionally, he said, in front of your colleague, his eyes deliberately shifting from your face to your outfit. You knew he meant it as a dig, a subtle tease, and though you tried to brush it off, a sting remained. Tonight you were going to show him how bold you could be, how well you could dress for the occasion. After all, you were his contract wife, not someone bound by his rules. You were going to play on your own. The door creaked open. Jungkook stood there, his eyes scanning you from head to toe. And for a split second, the usual icy exterior he wore faltered. His gaze lingered a little too long on you, and his jaw tightened slightly as if he were. What was that? You could see it in his eyes, a flicker of something. It wasn't just admiration, it was more complicated than that. He couldn't admit it, but there was something about your confidence tonight that pulled at something inside him. He opened his mouth, then paused, as if weighing his words carefully. Someone has really gotten bold, he said, his voice calm but with an edge. There was a tension there, something unspoken, as if he didn't quite know how to process the women standing before him. You met his gaze in the mirror, his reflection showing the slight furrow of his eyebrows. Just showing I can dress according to the occasion, professional and appropriate. He raised an eyebrow, and almost imperceptible smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Fine then, if you're ready, we can go. You turned to him, adding a confident smile. 1 minute, you said. You ran a quick hand through your hair and checked yourself in the mirror again. When you were satisfied, you pressed your lips together and nodded and said, now we can go. As you stepped past him towards the door, you caught a glimpse of his profile. His gaze followed you, and for a moment there was something intense in his eyes. Was it pride, regret, or maybe something else entirely? He didn't say anything else as he led the way out, but you could feel the quiet storm that was brewing just beneath the surface. The grand ballroom was alive with chatter, the sound of glasses clinking, and the hum of corporate talk. Your heels clicked against the marble floor as you entered, Jungkook at your side, a touch of tension between you two that only could feel. You couldn't help but notice the way people glanced at you, the admiring looks, the subtle whispers, the boldness of your outfit seemed to command attention, but none more so than the man at your side. Jungkook's presence was commanding as always, but tonight there was something different in his demeanor. The usual confidence in his stride was still there, but his gaze, it lingered on you a little longer than usual. As you moved through the crowd, you spotted a few familiar faces, business partners, associates, and a few colleagues from the office. Jungkook kept his distance, his presence always looming near, but never fully engaging with you. His gaze, however, was never. Your attention shifted to Jimin, Jungkook's business partner. He was talking to you, his laughter infectious, as he shared a story from the office. You caught yourself smiling more than you intended, his easygoing nature putting you at ease in the formality of the night. You felt it before you saw it. Jungkook's eyes on you from across the room. The sharpness in his stare made you pause, and for a brief moment you caught the briefest flicker of jealousy in his gaze. Later in the evening, you were laughing with Jimin by the drink table when you felt a firm grip on your arm. Jungkook's touch was uncharacteristically strong as he pulled you away from the crowd and into a quieter hallway. The sound of the party faded as he stood in the corner, his eyes locking onto yours with an intensity that made your heart race. His voice was low but carried a serious edge. "Why are you being so friendly with him?" he asked, his tone tight. "Did you forget you are my wife?" The words hit you like a wave, the tension in the air thickening. You could feel his grip tightening, a mix of possessiveness and something else you couldn't place. You took a step back, crossing your arms, defiance in your eyes. "Wife," you said with a laugh, though it didn't reach your eyes. "Don't forget, I'm your contract wife, not your real wife. I don't have to follow your rules. You want me to be a real wife? Then maybe it's time to make me one. Until then, I play by my own rules." For a moment, Jungkook didn't speak, his jaw tight. As he processed your words, you saw the flicker of something in his eyes, anger, frustration, but also a hint of something softer. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. His voice dropped, his tone a little softer but still charged. "Real life? Let's see if we can fix that then." You didn't know what he meant, but you felt a strange shiver ran down your spine. The party continued, but the tension between you and Jungkook only grew. It wasn't obvious to anyone else, but you could feel the weight of it with every glance he gave you, every moment of silence when he should have been speaking. The emotional distance between you was palpable, yet there was almost something more, something pulling you. After a few hours at the party, you felt the need for some air. You excused yourself, slipping away from the crowd, your thoughts a little more scattered than you wanted them to be. The night had been full of glances, exchanged subtle words, and the growing tension between you and Jungkook. As you made your way to the restroom, you found yourself distracted. The halfway was eerily quiet compared to the buzz of the party, and you didn't notice the sign on the door at first. You pushed it open, stepping inside to check your reflection in the mirror. You froze as you noticed the sign. It was the men's restroom. You blinked in confusion, but before you could turn around, you heard the sound of footsteps approaching from behind. Without thinking, you stepped further into the room, making your way to the sink to fix your hair. Just as you reached the counter, the door swung open and you heard a familiar voice. "What are you doing here?" Jungkook asked, his voice low but unmistakable. You turned, blinking up at him. "Jungkook, what are you doing here? This isn't the men's room." Jungkook's lip curled into a subtle smirk as he stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room, deliberately ignoring the sign. "It's men's restroom, baby." He gave you a look that was impossible to read. Amusement, but something else too. You couldn't help but laugh, though you couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the whole situation. "So you swap the signs, don't you?" "Maybe," he replied casually, but his eyes were more intense now. "You look good." The compliment was simple, but there was an edge to it, a weight that made your heart skip. His gaze lingered on you just a little too long before he stepped closer. Before you could process what was happening, you heard a faint noise, someone else entering the washroom. Your heart skipped a beat. You realized the door hadn't closed properly and footsteps were echoing closer. You quickly looked around in a panic. "Someone is coming." Jungkook didn't hesitate. He moved swiftly, grabbing your wrist, pulling you into the nearest stall. Just as you heard the sound of footsteps approaching, his hand remained on your waist as he guided you into the stall space, and before you could react, he closed the door. It was Jimin. He walked in casually, completely unaware of the quiet drama unfolding in the stall. "Hello," Jimin called out, his voice muffled but loud enough for you to hear from the stall. "Anyone in here?" Jungkook immediately pressed you against the wall of the stall, the sudden movement catching you off guard. He placed his finger gently over your lips, a gesture to silence you. His gaze was calm, but there was a hint of something playful and a little possessive. You tried to breathe quietly, your heart racing at the unexpected closeness. Jungkook was standing so close to you, his body almost flush against yours, but he didn't say a word. He wasn't pushing, just holding you in place with that quiet intensity you were beginning to recognize more and more. From the other side of the bathroom, you heard Jimin continue talking. Is someone in here? He repeated, clearly not sensing anything amiss. Hello, I could have sworn I heard whispers. Jungkook looked at you, a small smirk playing at his lips, and you could see the amusement in his eyes. He tilted his head slightly, his finger rubbing your lips gently while his another hand moving down your waist. The whispers you were both trying to keep silent were barely audible, but Jimin seemed to have no clue. Sounds like some personal business going on here. Guess I will leave you to it. You could hear Jimin's footsteps retreating as he left the washroom, the door swinging shut behind him. Jungkook, now standing in front of you, finally let out a breath, his hand still resting slightly on your arm. He removed his finger from your lips, but there was still quite tension in the air. That was close, you whispered, still processing the awkwardness of the situation. Not like this. He immediately pulled you over him by your waist and rubbing you against him. What are you doing? You asked innocently, but inside you want more of what he was doing. Don't you know? It's your... So you're doing it before making me your wife? You said in a deep voice while enjoying it. I'll make you my wife, that's why I'm doing it as advance. If you don't want it, I can back now. He was about to withdraw, but you didn't let him. No, keep going. He smirked and was doing something you wanted and asked for. Jungkook looked down at you, a slight but meaningful pause before he spoke. I don't like sharing what's mine. His voice was soft but serious, and there was an intensity in his eyes that sent a flutter through you. Session goes on.